We've been brainwashed to believe that everything is real, and it's not. I've been saying it for a while. Everything is a system of control. Religion, school, government, and tonight we're tackling religion. That's right. We have a guest here with us tonight. Hey, John F. How you doing?
Good. Hello, hello, hello. Not that I don't mind stealing from LitDev, but there you go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
Good.
Now, I was born and raised in the Catholic religion. So, first thing I have to say is I believe that religion serves a purpose. It's very beneficial to, well, it was to me because without it, I wouldn't be who I am. So, I'm not trying to tear anybody's religion down, really. It's just the reality that everything is man made. Everything was created by man from the very beginning, even words. So everything that comes from words is basically based on the same types of false, that white rabbit type thing, chasing that white rabbit, man. It's it's not what we want it to be. It's all something designed to control how you think, control the way you think so that you can be that perfect citizen. Because, in my opinion, we all are animals. We all come from animals. Our emotions are what we base how we do things, is just that we need to disguise how we do things in order to prove to ourselves that we are these civilized beings instead of just the animals that God made us. Yeah, I believe in God. I don't believe in religion because man made, and man tends to use things to manipulate people no matter how it got started. It might have been intended for good, but man always winds up manipulating things for his own purposes. As we see, everything today is a manipulation of some kind. Government, but religion has got to be one of the first things that we are taught after words. You get taught how to speak, and then usually your parents start guiding you into a religion of some kind. That's if your parents and stuff are into that. But when I was young, the first things that I was taught was how to believe in a God and how not to do certain things in life because of what God taught us. And for me, that's it was not really what we was created to do. We was created to be animals. We came into the world being savage. Everything on the planet kills to survive. Every single thing. Animals, plants. I watch Naked and Afraid all the time, right? And if you see, just watch that show a little bit, you'll understand. That's what life is supposed to be. That's the freedom that we've given up for society. Animals can do whatever. They have the most freedom in the world of anything. Animals, plants, they're all living organisms, and they're all basically been forced into man's system of society because we all getting killed one way or another by our choices. So
You
yeah,
know,
you have some.
it's funny you say that because if again, I also grew up Catholic, but if you read the early Edgar Rice Burroughs Tarzan,
Yeah,
it's he says he's basically saying the exact same thing. That Tarzan grew up in the, you had to earn your right to survive. So it's really a matter of just growing, you know, being able to graduate the school of hard knocks and actually,
yeah,
uh, be able to keep living, keep eating, keep drinking,
yeah.
and
That's
keep going
basically
on.
we created things just because we didn't understand it. Religion comes from not understanding what the world was. we was primitive beings with primitive minds, and things we didn't understand, basic stuff like lightning, maybe meteor showers, things like that was foreign to us. We didn't understand that as primitive beings. So we made up things. That's what I believe. But the reason why I do believe in God is because there's too many things that we can't explain. To me, like there's so many things, like even the way that the universe works. I why does it have to create life? Period. Why can't it just be a bunch of planets with no life? Why it could have been just that easy, right? We don't know why the universe was created, but it could have been something that just was intended to be. It could have been a place where it could have been just inorganic life.
Well, it also could have been just a bunch of lucky coincidences. If you look at the history of the planet, there's no reason why we would have been the dominant species. All it took was one big asteroid just
To change
to
things.
change things. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So why us? Why are we so particularly special? Is it something that we created in our minds, or is there a divine purpose? That's what I say. I don't believe that there's a divine purpose. I just think we got the luck of the roll, you know. And now we're taking it to a point where we're destroying ourselves in a belief of our higher being, that we're something special intended to control. But all I see is our own destruction. Excuse me. Yeah, all I see is our own destruction in a lot of ways. Uh, with things like fracking and all of that stuff. And I don't think God is going to help us in any of that. I believe that the road that we're taking is leading us down a path of destruction because we don't believe in our own bullcrap. You know, there's too many people that just care about wealth. And so religion is something that is, I guess, we so well want to believe that there's something after that. And I believe there's something, but I don't believe it's the something that we believe it is. Because like you said, it was millions of years there were other creatures on the planet from what man believes. And it doesn't make sense that life only existed in a couple of thousand years as far as the Bible is concerned. That's another reason. There's too many inconsistencies for me. That's the only reason why I say. But the things that about religion that gave me benefits are the teachings of, how people want to be treated, treating people the way you want to be treated, and being good to one another. That's basically what comes with, I guess, grouping in tribes and tribal situations. We needed each other to protect ourselves, because again, in my mind, we're the weakest animals on the planet. We're the weakest creatures, even though we did manage to be as successful as we were. But I still believe that we're the weakest because we make, well, even the Bible says the intelligence of man is the doom of man. That was the original sin. Now, I'm not here to discuss sin and all of that stuff, because if I don't believe in religion, I don't believe really in sin. But there has to be something taken into consideration when you then see what that knowledge has brought us. Now, the softer we get, because we've been devolving, in my opinion, that's going to be another one of my topics, is the devolution of man. Our intelligence has allowed us to think that we're so great, but again, watching shows like Naked and Afraid, you see that mankind is so much weaker than what we were genetically. We can't even handle being in the nature that was created for us. Being
Yeah,
amongst other animals, you watch that show, and just to drink the water with that at one point we was partaking in just along with every other animal. We didn't have to boil our water because the use of fire came along as a happenstance. We didn't need to use water at one point to boil our food or cook our food and boil our water. We chose to do that, and now because of that, our bodies have lost the capability to get rid of the bacteria and the natural germs that are in the wild. Like you can see a dog go into the gutter and drink water out of the gutter and nothing happens to it. But if you do that, you get sick as a dog. You know what I mean? And then you see that a lot in nature. I mean, well, in the show that Naked and Afraid, they gotta
well,
boil everything.
it also depends on how you're brought up too. If you look at our ancestors, even as recently as a couple hundred years ago, um, you had Native Americans who were that close to nature; they could tell just what was good water, what was good bad water, what
That's
was
right.
they could. I mean, early man could run like for days.
That's
I mean, the
right.
thing is, we were good hunters. We were better hunters together, and
That's
that's where
right.
society started. I mean, it was more efficient to have a group of us. It's like a pack of wolves.
Yeah. It
One
was
wolf is vulnerable. A bunch of wolves is
is
lethal
a
when they're
force.
attacking prey.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And then you look at us. Look at our build. We wasn't. If you look at mankind, when we was the primitive beings, we was weaker than any gorilla. So that means on land we couldn't protect ourselves against larger predators the way a gorilla could. And we were too big to climb and jump through trees the way chimpanzees and smaller monkeys could. So as far as a primate, we was in that sort of Goldilocks area for other predators to feast on. We didn't have the big teeth and canines the way that a gorilla did. We didn't have the mass of muscle the way gorillas do, and we didn't have the strength to climb into trees to bring our size into trees, into tree limbs, and climbing and swinging through trees to escape predators. So we were the most vulnerable primate, if you ask me. Too big to climb and too big to climb into trees and too small to be a force on land. So of course we had to force ourselves into groups, larger groups, right? And then those groups would then be more successful. And then as we get softer in these successful groups, just like now, as we get softer, we can believe in what we want, just like
But
how we do now.
but part of that getting into groups is also becoming a civilized. I mean, you had to be able to work together. You had to learn language. You could communicate to bring down animals. You had to be able to plan, uh, transfer knowledge of things, how to make fire, how to build tools, how to create shelter. You had to teach. Be able to teach all that. That's part of how our society developed was the need to survive. Because as individuals, you're right, we're easy pickings as individuals, but as a group, against that gorilla, one person wouldn't survive. You put 10 against that one gorilla, we have much better chance.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think was our downfall. I think if we didn't get intelligent, that we would have perished. That was our evolving, the evolutionary force that brought us to be able to survive was
The
that.
ones that survived were more intelligent.
Yeah, the ones who was able to reason and make weapons
Yeah.
and then use fire. But I believe that at that same time, being able to use fire was the beginning of our failing, because that was when we probably first started to lose our body hair, is putting on clothing and using fire to keep warm and using
Um,
fire to cook our food.
I'm not sure that's necessarily true. I think a lot of the body hair situation was because of the because we were hunters, we were trackers, we would walk or run. I mean, we part of the early humanoids, they were able to outrun a lot of their. I mean, long distance run. A lot of the animals were great sprinters, but they weren't good at long distance running.
Yeah.
And the more efficient long distance runners are the ones with less hair. I mean, that's also part of evolution. So we lost a
Do you
lot.
think that that's why we lost our hair, or
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
started wearing clothing?
Um,
Because we started putting on skins that of the animals that we hunted, and that because we started wearing these false hides is the reason our evolution took over and say, well, you don't need hair anymore. Because look at it, look at it, look at us now. Hold on, let me see if we can pull this up. Look at us now. I saw something where they said that humans are losing our wisdom teeth. That the newest generation are losing the capability to grow wisdom teeth because we don't eat the way we used to. We don't masticate the way we used to. Everything is so processed. The way we cook food, the way we eat fast food, we don't use our teeth to grind vegetables. We don't use our teeth to tear into bone and ligaments the way our our forefathers did. So now we're losing the capability of having wisdom teeth.
yeah,
Let me see, wisdom teeth. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I'm looking for the wrong thing. Let me see. Let me go over here. But yeah, that's what I'm. This is and so religion, I think, is some is part of that. I think of some of this education and we how we created our own way of thinking because of fear. I believe fear is a big thing that drives humans. Of course, it's a beneficial thing. Fear is part of the survival mechanism. You're supposed to be afraid of things because things can kill you, especially in the wild. Um, wisdom, loss of wisdom teeth, wisdom. Pulling wisdom teeth, genetic loss. I'm gonna have to look up genetic loss of wisdom teeth. I know I saw a show that on YouTube. I was looking up something else, and they actually discussed how humans are no longer growing wisdom teeth. Humans no longer grow wisdom teeth. Okay, let's see how we pull up here. Why don't we need our wisdom teeth anymore? Here we go. Let's see if we can EFAP this.
yeah.
Hold on. Let me see. I got this. Let me see if I'm okay. This is stem happens. Let's see if we can EFAP this. Let's see how long we can go without getting messed with. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. So I know they've been cracking down on using other people's stuff. So let's see. Even though I've been doing pretty good the last few live streams, as long as I keep it short, seem to get away with it. So let's see. All right. Are we seeing this? Oh, I don't think I brought up the sound. Hold on. I forgot all about the sound.
Yeah, it's one of those StreamYard things.
Yeah, they need to just put it in, and whenever you don't need it, you can turn it off. Yeah, well, I don't see when people don't need it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. All right. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. We don't need to see Yeah. Why? Why does evolution do this to where we don't need our teeth? It's because we have not been using them the way they were intended to be used. Exactly. Yeah. Why? Because we've been boiling and processing food to where most of the time people just swallow. They crush a couple of times and then they swallow.
Well, don't forget too, your average human back, 100 or 200 years ago wasn't living as long as we do. When you get older, when you have good dental care, you're really not going to use those back teeth.
Is that better or worse that we are
Well,
living longer? Is that better or worse? Because I see overpopulation of the world, right? And somewhere along the line, that's going to come back to get us. If we keep
actually, I
overpopulating
don't
Earth,
know. I don't know about the overpopulation. I think the population is looking to start to crash at this point. If you look at Japan, if you look at a lot of the civilized countries, really the only places that are having population booms are Africa and some parts of Asia.
but
But
the
if you look at the
population
rest,
hasn't stopped. The population might have slowed down. We've been killing each other for thousands of years. More people died back in primitive time due to war and killing each other for war's sake back in more uncivilized times. Just a couple of thousand years ago, 1,000 years ago, we were murdering each other left and right in wars. Even
well,
today, we still kill each other in wars, and it still doesn't. It's not uh, hurting our population growth. So because we stop having sex or we slow down, it doesn't mean that the population growth has stopped. It just means that our population isn't growing as fast. But you think that in a year or two from now, there's not going to be another billion people on the planet?
I think you're going to start to see a bit of a slowdown. Even in China, there's a problem. They have a huge problem because of their one child thing. And most of the children, they were leaning towards mostly men. So you
Mhm.
have a lot of men in China that don't have wives at this point.
But
Don't
they're
have any
still
possibility of
having
one.
sex. They're still having sex and they're still having children, not at the same rate.
Not the
But
same. Well, they can't have children. They're limited by the government.
yeah, but
So
how many? That's because how many billions of people exist over there?
yeah, I know. I understand
It's
that.
already to them. It's already at a tipping point. So they started putting restrictions on them, right? It's not that
They did. They
yeah,
did.
it's not just that they people are not having sex. They actually put restrictions on how many children that they can have.
No, that's true. And but the problem was when they put the restrictions down, the traditional Chinese motif was having male children.
Yeah,
They
but nowadays, you know what's causing the problem is this new wave feminism that women want
yeah.
to be something, women want to do this, women want to do that, and it's costing them because just like over here, men and women are losing the capability to socialize because everything you say, everything you do is taken as some kind of misogynistic thing. And that's a religious type thing because religion is just the belief of stuff that's bullshit. It's not real. We believe in a bunch of stuff that's absolutely not real. And that's what the Matrix doctrine is all about. How we want to believe in these fake systems of control. And religion is one of them. Religion, and then we make a lot of religion. Culture and all of that is stuff that we make up. Culture is another thing that is just how, at a certain point, right, back in our evolution, practically everybody did the same thing the same way. We hunted, we gathered, and we ate, right? But then
Mhm.
we start, as we got more comfortable in our tribal situation, large enough tribes in order to not be able to be um, as easily hunted by other animals, then we started getting lazy and comfortable and we began getting soft, ever so slightly, because the more we civilized, the softer man got. And religion and culture became part of that because now we're able to make beads and decorations and all of that instead of just wearing skins. Now we're decorating our skins, and the culture is basically the difference, basically the difference in how individuals in different tribes chose to do the same exact things, because that's what culture is. How a black person chose to do things over a white tribe, or a Native American tribe, or an Asian tribe, or they chose to do the same things but just differently because of the resources they had access to. So instead of decorating their hair with fish bones, they used some other animal, or they would wear their clothes in a certain way. They would decorate their clothes or their homes or their whatever they lived in. They would decorate their surroundings in a certain way. But now culture is basically another type of religion. It's something that everybody holds up as some representative form of who they are, but all the culture really is another belief system that has people separating along these lines, creating situations where we like we use these differences in order to segregate ourselves. And we're so comfortable now that we can afford to sit back and use these fake platforms in order to say that we are something special. And religion is one of those first excuse me. Religion is one of those first things that we are taught to segregate ourselves along these terms. We come up with some type of force that we believe in because religion was one of the main things that segregated us and kept us separate until the conquest of Western civilization, or civilization as a whole, became prevalent. Well, let's put it in simplest terms. The white man conquered most of the world, so he spread the Christian religion to the world, and that's how a lot of the Christianity thing spread as big as it did. Because otherwise, everybody had their own cultures, their own gods that they believed in, and in many parts of the world, there are still some that have uh, separate beliefs, but for the belief systems. But even today, this even on some of the smallest islands with some of the most primitive living type people, they believe in Christianity.
Yeah, because of the missionaries.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But these people uh, didn't believe in that at one point. They came to believe in it because somebody came to them bringing in new belief systems, wearing clothes because they were told that they were savage or being savage at some point. So now you see these people who gladly walked around barely wearing any clothes, now wearing t-shirts and pants, and all because of their following some religion, giving up their resources. How do these people who once lived free now then go into starving because they give up their rights to hunt on their own land? Things like that. It began through religion, practices of religion being brought in, because you gotta know these people didn't believe. It was easy to get people to believe in a God and change their faith, but to then say, "Hey, I want a ruler, somebody to come in and govern over me." That's began with religion. A religion started a lot of that. A lot of governments had to answer to churches before they can make their decisions on how to govern.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. That was
Yeah,
in early Europe. That was the case.
yeah. And so that's in most cultures, that's how it was. Religion was the first commander in chief in how you were supposed to do things, how you supposed to govern, how people are supposed to believe. You was basically forced to believe one way or another. And as people conquered one another, the first thing that would be changed in order to make people think and do things the way you want to in their new society, because when a conquering nation comes in, they change the religion just slightly so that you will believe the way they want you to believe. Make it easier for them to rule over you. And it's the same thing today. A lot of people are so hung up on religion that it's easy because of a lot of religion, especially in the Catholic or Christian faith. It tells you to submit to your rulers and let God handle it. And
Yeah.
God, even in the Bible, God says He helps those who helps themselves. And these things are. That's why I say religion is one of those things that we don't need. I like I said, we you use it. It's a good teaching. Excuse me. See, I got a lot of loose coal. It's a good teaching tool. It's beneficial because without it, like I said, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I grew up and I had a rough. I went through rough things. I involved myself in things that I didn't have to, and God didn't stop any of that. He lets you do what you intended, what you want to do, and that's the way it is in the world. You have free will to do what you want and to believe what you want. I don't believe that things we do are gonna damn us, because a lot of the things that I believe we do are the things that are necessary to survive in the world, in a primitive world. If you go out into the savage world and to some jungle, you have to kill. You have to kill in order to survive. Everything kills in order to survive. You can go out into the woods and get stuck by a thorn and die from it because it can get septic and you can get infected and die. So everything in the woods is trying to kill you, but because we've pacified the world in so many ways, we can sit back and sit in comfort and believe in things that have no real control over us. And these control systems, like religion, help to make us good so-called societal beings. When back in the days, each tribe fought each other because of resources. If you're a tribe and you're coming into my land to hunt my food, we're going to go to war.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
what
way
it
it
was.
was.
That's the way it was. And that's the way it is today. It's just that we don't say that. We don't say that. We don't need those resources in the same way. So now everything is about power and
Well,
keeping and using power.
we sort of, I don't know, I'm not sure, because if you look at oil has been, you know, certainly people have fought over oil, as because that does give oil is power, the
Yeah,
ability to
but
run
do
your
we
industry.
need oil? Do we need oil to survive?
Yeah.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't need any of the stuff that we have today. And that's what I'm talking about. The matrix doctrine. We don't need any of these things today. All of these things are luxuries. The home that you live in, the TVs you watch, all of these things are luxuries, things that you use to pass the time because you no longer have to hunt every day for your food. You no longer have to hunt every day for clean water. You no longer have to hunt for these things. So, what are you doing with your time besides sitting around not doing anything? If you go back to primitive time, you didn't have to do anything besides eat, drink, have some place to rest your head, and have sex in order to keep your race going. That's all you had to do. So now we believe all of these things we have are necessary, but we don't need any of these things. All you need is shelter from the cold when it gets that way, and from other predators or whatever. We need to eat, we need to drink, and we need to have sex. That's all we need. Everything else is a luxury and something that we absolutely do not need in life. Not
A lot of
period.
that was true though back when, there was maybe 100 million, 200 million people on the earth. When you're talking 8 billion people, you can't just, you have to have something in order to grow food. You have to have something in order to transport the food, to transport
No.
water.
If
I
we
mean,
was
water.
if we were still living under the same type, say we never got to the steam engine, right? Say we never created gunpowder and all we had was sharp sticks and that's it. Sharp sticks and stones to throw at each other and such. If we never got past a certain point, do you think that we would be as prevalent or would we be dying still at a high rate?
Oh, we'd
Would
be
we not?
certainly dying at a
Exactly.
higher
So
rate.
if that's the case, does that mean that we would not be as evolved or we would still have to be forced into that a more primitive way of life? Excuse me.
You could sort of evolve to a point. There's limitations if you don't have fuel, if you don't have, uh, you know, the ability to make machinery. That's going to limit you. But I mean, if you look at the Industrial Revolution, that was only 300 years ago.
Yeah, but before then, way before the Industrial Revolution, we started becoming less nomadic and started settling down in one
Yeah.
spot. And that's when we needed to farm and grow livestock because we were no longer following the herds. We started settling in one spot and that's it because our groups got too big to follow herds.
And that was a result of that. I mean, you had to start farming because farming, the population got to a point where you couldn't just hunt for food. You had to actually grow your own food in order to support the population. So that
Again,
was inevitable.
I understand that, but was that a good thing or a bad thing? Was that good
Um,
for us as a human race, or is it Is it lead? Did that all of those things that we're talking about? Does that lead us to what we are now, and the possible destruction? Because what's going to happen to the humankind is going to be a mass extinction type thing. Yeah, and we see this with the illy ill, with this corona shit. We see this happening now. That all it's going to take is one major event to bring us down to our knees. If the illy ill was as threatening, even if it was as threatening what they claim it to be, you think that we would be living in the same world that we are living in now?
Well, we survived the Black Death, which was much worse than Corona. Not even comparison. One quarter of the population of Europe died. I mean, whole villages were wiped out. So
Yeah,
you're talking. So yes,
exactly.
that's happened before.
Yeah,
So that's
no. It didn't happen before because you're talking about one small section of the earth. You're talking about Europe. It would have just happened to Europe.
well, no,
Most
that happened in
likely
Asia.
Europe.
Asia, that was in Asia too.
Well, it still wouldn't have crossed the water because we wasn't globalized. The
That's
reason
true.
why the pandemic is worldwide is because we're globalized. We're able to travel and spread the disease. Back then, we wasn't able to travel. Not the same way. It took the trip that it would take from Europe to the Americas or the Europe to Africa on a boat. Everybody would have been dead by the time they arrived, and that means the disease would have died with it. So if we would see, we wouldn't have the capability to wipe ourselves out if it wasn't for our so-called progress. I believe our progress is a downfall because we're not as great as what we think we are. Everything that we create destroys us, is destroying us from the chemicals. There's a shortage of sperm. There's a shortage of sperm. I heard that there was a shortage of
Yeah,
sperm.
that's
That
true.
mankind is now losing his capability of producing sperm. So why is that? Because of all of the chemicals that we introduce to ourselves. So how is our intelligence so great when everything we do is toxic to ourselves and the world around us? Everything we create leaves a toxic spill off, a toxic residue. We create plastic, toxic. It leaves a chemical. We use oil for all of these things to create plastics and all kinds of different things. But everything we create, it creates a pollution. Everything, no matter what we manufacture, it creates a pollution. Every single thing that mankind creates a pollution of some sort. You ever heard of uh, forever chemicals?
No, I haven't heard of those.
Forever chemicals. It says that everything that we in water and food, everything, forever chemicals. Here we go. Uh, Here we go. Forever chemicals. This is the commercial. You have to get past that. Okay, they're describing their. Here we go. Many everyday products. So the plastic you wrap your meat in, the styrofoam, cardboard, everything that you introduce into your life is seeping, and then we wonder where we get all of these cancers and different things from, because we're introducing all of these things into our genetic makeup. We eat these things time and time again. We breathe that. We go in and we smell a new car smell, and we go, new car smell. We love that, but that's chemicals we introduce into our foreign toxic chemicals we introduce to ourselves. But people are so used to it. We think it's evolution. We think it's progress. We think it's the brilliance of man, but it's destroying us. It's destroying us on every level, both genetically, mentally, psychologically, on every kind of way we think. We think wrong. We think wrong. And these beliefs, religions that we choose to put into our brain and use to focus, that make that we're so great. Mankind is so great. I just don't believe that we are. I believe we've gaslit ourselves. We're drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm telling you, we just do not want to let go of the Matrix. We want to believe in it because that's the only world we've supposedly known for so long. We believe our own hype. It's everywhere. Everywhere. Did you hear the list? Cardboards, makeup, everything we use is toxifying ourselves. So how could we be so brilliant? We believe in all. We have so much faith in ourselves that we totally and absolutely are willing to die for our beliefs. We absolutely are willing to die for our beliefs because we want to believe that man is the pinnacle of everything. But only thing we have pinnacle of is imprisoning ourselves to this belief system. That's the Matrix. That is the Matrix. That's what he says in the Matrix. We want to believe, human beings want to believe in the Matrix so much that you become part of it. And that's why the Matrix was the agents were so able to pass from human to human because they're connected so much to the Matrix that they can't see any other way. Disconnecting them from the Matrix could be detrimental to the individual, and that's what it is with humans. We are so connected to the Matrix, believing in our religions, believing in our money, believing in our strength as humans, that that nothing else matters. It's We are so connected to that. We are so willing to be lazy. We're so willing to give up our own rights for our comforts, for our creature comforts, things we don't need.
Now, what you're seeing, though, in terms of religion, not all religions are like that. If you look at, like, there are a lot of religions that are close to nature. If you're, for example, the Native American religions, the problem is when you separate nature from from religion. What the result is. You're going to run into these type problems. If we were brought up to take care of the earth and not exploit it, there would be a huge difference in what you're seeing right now.
I don't think we were supposed to take care of the earth. I think that because of our intelligence, if we are so intelligent, I believe that we should have recognized what we are doing and we should cut that shit out. I believe that as intelligent beings, we should stop doing the dumb shit that we're doing. I'm gonna be doing another matrix about how we believe so much in the things that we want to believe. We're so willing to kill ourselves. Fracking, People want to be rich so bad that they won't give up money. Money is fake. Money has no value. Diamonds have no value. Gold has no value. We're going to be putting all of this through the matrix doctrine. All of these things have no value. Hey, this is the matrix. This is the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Here it comes.
Control. The matrix built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
That's the matrix system. That's the matrix doctrine. Human beings have been fed a line of bullshit to turn us into money. No matter how it started, everything that we see today is that. The matrix designed to turn humans into money for the certain sect of people. It's been that way ever since we started using that sort of trade where we giving up some shiny piece of nothing for actual valuable goods and services. When we started using gold and silver and copper and all of these little things to trade instead of actual goods and service trading back and forth, we began destroying ourselves. We began destroying ourselves back way before then, before we even started doing that. From what I understand, back in ancient Egypt, they believed that they were gods, that they didn't worship gods in the same way that we worship a God. They believed that they were gods. And
well, that the Pharaoh was God.
No. Each person believed that the spirit within them was part of God, so therefore they were God. We say the same thing. The Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is all one, and we have the Holy Spirit in us, right? It's basically the same, some kind of the same thing. That we are part of God, so therefore we are just as good in a way. We are God. Basically, that's what the religion says. And I don't believe that these things are what we should be doing with ourselves. I believe that we need to take religion and start thinking more on realistic terms. When we start, see, religion was the first lie we began telling ourselves, and now we have cosplay. Now we have all these other beliefs that people want to, just because they want to. Cosplay, furries, all of this ridiculousness. Religion started that. This belief that because we believe in it, now we can be. And it should not be that way. We should supposed to be living in a realistic way of thinking. And everything we do today is based on some lie. Society is a lie. Society was the first lie that we told ourselves. No, not well, probably, but society was different back then. We needed, just like you said, we needed each other. Now we don't need each other. How many do you speak with your neighbors?
Once in a while.
Once in a while, but y'all are not really close, right? It's just like,
no,
we know each other, we live next to each other, but we're not close. It's not like your neighbors would you think your neighbors would help you, or you don't know whether they would help you if you needed it?
They probably would. I mean, I've helped them, so I think so.
Okay. So because you helped them, you assuming that they would return the favor, but you don't have any guarantee that your neighbor, if you needed help, that they would help you.
No guarantees. Just I'm hopeful.
But back in the day, in more of a tribal based situation, if you needed help, your tribe was more or less likely gonna be there for you, because the thing that you're gonna need help with would not be anything near as major, because they didn't have mortgages back then. They didn't have to worry about debt and all of these things. So if you needed something, it was probably to eat or some kind of clothing or to help gather firewood or whatever, so that you could keep warm and healthy for the whatever time or duration or whatever that you needed help for. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I say. Time changes things, but it doesn't change everything. The world is still a savage place. Just because we're not in the parts of it that's savage, that doesn't mean that the world isn't still a brutal, savage place. We've just removed ourselves from it.
You're right. That's true. All I have to do is look at the news, see that.
Exactly. We don't even need the news. We've come to believe in all of these systems. All of these things are systems of control. That's why I made up this matrix doctrine. News, we don't need to. You think that this is all forms of occupying your mind. It's just like the matrix. In order to make you into this battery for the machines, they had to occupy your mind with this society so that they didn't lose large crops of humans. So they had to create this fake world so that you could believe you was living happily. Even when they created the perfect world, they said that we wasn't happy. They had to make a flawed world to make it seem more realistic to us so that we'd be more happy in our situation. And that's what we've done. We've created this flawed world in order to make ourselves happy. And now we believe in all of it so deeply that we're willing to die for the premise of becoming rich. We're willing to give up all of our power to other people who are no better than us, just for the sake of one day, maybe we might get rich, or we might become something that we can look down on other people. Because for the most part, the average person will never see wealth in that way. The average person will never see that kind of wealth. And I think that's kind of messed up. I think it was more fair back in the primitive times, because everybody had the opportunity and be successful at hunting. Everyone. But today, not everybody can fit into this world of learning. You had to get an education, then you have to go through this system of doing things, going to get somebody, working for someone else in order to. Do you think that working for someone else, do you think that rich people supply jobs? Or do you think that those jobs are there for us to do? It's just for us to do them?
I think investing wealth creates jobs. So
You really do?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. What jobs do you think are created by wealth or investment?
Small businesses, people that start off small
Okay.
local stores.
Okay. You don't think that we could do that without money?
Well, no, absolutely we could. I mean, but I'm saying yes. But there's you were talking about businesses, and that's what I'm saying. You could, I think businesses need start off with small businesses, and then what happens is the small businesses tend to grow, and some of them absorb others. Some of them are much better than others, and so they become big business.
Well, what I'm trying to get you to look at is, without money, don't you think that, or without investment, all it takes is to build the building and put the goods there, right?
No, you still have to borrow. That's sort of like a
No. Okay, let's go
yeah.
back.
You
Let's
still
go
have to
back. Let's go
borrow
back.
because you
Let's
don't
go
get
back. Okay,
yeah
let's go back. Let's go back.
yeah.
Let's go back. Let's go back in history. There's even not, we don't even have to go back in history. You could look at the Amish. They don't use money in the same way, right? When
No,
they want to build something, they just do it. They
I
gather people
yeah,
together
that's right.
and they have a barn raising, or they get together and they make clothes and they get, and then they take it out and they sell it. They don't need any loans or anything like that. They cut down the trees. They use the resources that they have. They make the goods that they have, they want to, and then they put it out there for us to purchase. But they don't need that system amongst themselves.
They don't, but they are also religious. A lot of that's religion based for them. So yes, they're doing that.
The belief is religion based, but
Yeah.
not the work.
No, that's
The work
correct.
is just work. The work is just putting in the effort. So
Yes.
that's what I say. This is what I'm saying. What if humans just put in the effort? What if we just lived so that we could live, so that we could all live? And I don't even believe in that, because I believe that people are supposed to die. I believe death and life are hand in hand. One can't go without the other. I don't believe death is separate from life. I believe death and life are one in the same thing, because you can't survive without death and you can't live without life. It's kind of an oxymoron or a catch-22, but death is a part of life. It helps the cycle. That's the first thing they teach you. One of the first things they teach you in school about that the circle of life. That you going back to the earth helps feed, helps nurture the earth for the next cycle of life. So death, it does. Do you believe it matters how you die?
There's certain deaths I wouldn't want to have. Sure.
You wouldn't want to, but in the scope of things, without your personal feeling on the subject, do you believe that it matters to death how you die?
Oh no, of course not.
Exactly. So though we want the most peaceful death, the most non-violent death, to death or life, it does not matter how you die. People still mourn no matter how you die. People are
Correct.
still going to mourn the loss. And to death, it doesn't matter, because as long as you're dead, it doesn't matter how you die. So the only people that are concerned about death are the living.
That's
Those
true.
who really don't want to die, which is a natural state of being. We're not supposed to want to die. We're supposed to want to cling to life. We're supposed to, because that's the survival instinct. But we're also supposed to have to want to kill, because that's the only way that we can get provisions. You have to kill something to survive. Everything has to kill. But because we handed it off to somebody else, we have our beliefs that tell us that we're not who we are, we're different than who we are, or we're something that we're not. And this is what the religion, the faith, the faith of being. We have a faith of wanting to know things or believing in things that are absolutely not true. And religion is absolutely not true, because it's created by mankind, and mankind creates things all the time, every day, that is not real, starting with words. And if words are not real, if words are the very first thing that are not real, doesn't everything that comes from words, isn't everything suspect that comes from something we've made up?
You could make something up and it be real. I'm not sure what you mean by words not being real. If you make a bow and arrow, the arrow is real. It can kill
And
someone.
that's why I think we started making up words, because we started making things. We couldn't point before. We didn't need to words, because all we needed was to eat, have sex, and provide shelter, right? So we didn't need to. It was let me go get some of that ass. Let me eat. When it was time to eat, the leader of the pack or whatever, he gets up and starts moving towards the hunting grounds, and everybody knows it's time to eat. So there wasn't a whole lot needed. But then when you start making clothes, fire, weapons, shelter, all of these different hooks for hunting fish, arrowheads, all of the stitching, needles and thread, shoes, all these different things, then you no longer could just point and go, now all of a sudden you need something to differentiate all of these things we're creating. And that's where I believe words started coming from. It
Well,
was
it also,
just then one word things, because we basically operate on emotion. Everybody, even animals, they communicate through emotions, and they let you know. You have no confusion when a dog comes up to you and he growls or he wags his tail, or you know exactly what that animal means. When a cat hisses at you, you know exactly what it means, because it's expressing through emotion. Immediate, we know exactly what we do. But when we come at each other as humans, we hide all of our emotions behind words, behind our faith, behind all of these things that we've created to put in the between each other. We use these bullshits in order to separate ourselves, to keep ourselves segregated from each other, when all we are trying to do is express ourselves emotionally. But if you notice, take a look through your daily life. How much stuff do you talk about actually means something? Most of the times you're expressing how happy you are, how angry you are about something, how something aggravated you or made you happy. You're not really, unless you're talking about something physical like a bill or something that you could pick up or move, you're not really discussing it. You're not discussing items and property and all of this stuff. You're mostly discussing how your day went or how things happen. When you're laughing with your friends, you're trying to express these types of emotions, the things that you made you happy, things that you seen that made you happy or mad or sad or whatever it was. That's what most of life is. That's what the majority of things that we talk about consist of, expressing the emotion that we felt. And it's when we don't express that emotion, or we're not able to through words, that people have problems. That's what people who say they're gay, oh, they was confused, they didn't know how to do that. Or people who are transsexual, they confused, they don't. This is an expression of emotions. This is not an expression of facts. We don't really care about facts until we emotionally attached to them. When we're arguing about something, then we're emotionally connected. We have an emotional connection to it. Otherwise, we don't care about these things because they're not relevant. We make up things to make it, just like this whole SJW stuff. All of this stuff comes from first world issues. We have it so comfortable that now people in society who would be considered the weakest are coming up talking about, we want to be represented, we want this and we want that. But do you think that these same people in a more primitive society would ever step up and say these things?
Nope.
No, because they need the protection of the patriarchy. But now they think that we civilized the world so much, the patriarchy civilized the world so much that the weak can now say, oh, we deserve more than what we've been getting because we've been not looked at in the way that we deserve. And I don't think that that's right. Uh-oh, we got we got sound issues. Yeah, and that's the whole thing with religion, man. When we start believing in things and holding on to them and not willing to hear the can you mute that for a second?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, in order to not have people, people have these beliefs and we guide ourselves on these belief systems, but today we don't need those belief systems either. None of these belief systems, you see that religion is falling off too. Religion is not as big as what it was. There's a lot more people who are coming up atheists, and nobody minds that. But back in the day, if you was somebody who was an atheist or you believed in some other religion, you can wind up dead just for not believing the same things. And I believe that that's, and now we see that a lot of people died because of religion, the Crusades, the witch hunt, the witches being hunted for over religious beliefs and stuff like that. And now people talk about witches, but nobody really believes in it anymore. Look, even the religious, they don't speak this the same way that they do anymore. I remember religion, you could not curse, you couldn't do any of that stuff, but you see religious people cursing all of the time now. And then ask forgiveness for it, or then say that we're okay, God doesn't mind. They changed the rules. But back in the day, you couldn't, that was blasphemous. Blaspheming was all swearing and cursing, even though that had more to do with using God's name in vain. Curses and swears, that's more like damning someone or wishing them foul. So yeah, that's just some of the things about religion that I wanted to bring to people's knowledge, that religion is just another system of control, especially in today's society. It always has been a system of control. Constantine wrote the first Bible in order to control people. And then King Henry, he gave everybody a Bible in order to build on that control, because he figured if people had a Bible of their own, they'd have that word of God in their hands and they'd be more connected and able, more easily controlled by the words of the church. Because you got to remember, the church and the Pope and everybody like that was it. And Constantine came from that world. He's 300 years after supposedly Christ died, because they don't even know that Christ was a real person. They're still wondering whether Christ ever really truly existed. Now, they don't know whether he was a real man or not. They suspect he was. And I think it's possible that he probably was.
Yeah, there's some evidence. I mean, if you look at Josephia's chronicles, there's some evidence. I mean, Josephus, yeah, he's an ancient Jewish writer that wrote about the Jewish revolt back in, I think, 64 A.D. And he wrote about them.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that true that Jewish religion or the Jewish faith doesn't believe in Christianity or the New Testament?
Oh no, it's just that he mentioned him. It wasn't a question of belief.
So that he wasn't saying that Jesus was the
No,
actual Son
just
of God,
no, just
but
that he had
that it's
mentioned.
possible that this person existed.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I think he mentioned the religion itself, and supposedly there was someone behind it. But I mean, that there's some evidence. Um,
Now you don't have to stop it. You can keep talking. It's okay.
now the cat. Give me a second.
That's okay. That's
The
okay.
cat wants to go out. Hold on.
All right. Yeah, but religion is a faith. That's why I say it's something that we want to believe in, but it's not something that we need. It's something that we choose to believe in. God is not. God hasn't intervened. Another thing that I've always wanted to ask people who are highly believing in religion, right? Leave a message and a comment, or if you answer this question. Why did if there are billions of people now, right? Compared to back in 2000, 3,000 years ago, right? There were billions. There are billions of people now with way more suffering, way more death, way more everything. Why would God come then when wouldn't God know that now would be a better way to get his word out? Why come then? Maybe it's something silly to ask. I don't know, because I don't believe God needs our I don't think God needs anything from us. I don't think God needs our worship. I don't think God needs anything from us, because to me, why would God give two doo-doos about us if there are multiple planets in the solar system, which we're going to move into soon? Because I want to touch on because Matrix started with me going over astronomy things. So, and we're gonna always go back to that, because I believe totally that a lot of things that man believes is garbage. It's we tell ourselves things all the time, but we lie to ourselves, and so we're gonna touch on that. But I'm waiting for my man here to get back so he can finish saying what he was speaking
I'm
on.
back.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
back.
you can finish saying if you remember what you were saying.
No, I don't. I don't. So that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so I was going to be talking about I was going to be moving on, because I don't know how much more religion we can talk about.
Yeah,
So
I gotta take off too because we're getting some thunderstorms coming through.
okay,
So
thanks for coming through, John, man.
oh, not a problem.
You've been on Twitter retweeting my stuff and everything, so I gotta help. I'm glad that you came through and represented. And you're always welcome here. Whenever I put up a live stream, if you want to come through, just come through. Let me know, and
Will
I'll
do.
send you an invite.
All right, thanks, X.
All right, now
You
later.
take care. Bye bye.
All right, now. So we're gonna move right along here into our next topic. We're gonna do a little bit of astronomical stuff. We're gonna talk about, because I was looking at some videos on. Oh shoot, we almost to the frigate time. Let me see. Where's my library? Things that history. Okay, let's go to the history. Because I know I was looking at some I was looking at some comic book stuff, and we need to get to some comic book stuff. But here, oh buddy. Woo! Oh, here comes the commercial. Here comes the commercial. Cut the commercial. All right. We're gonna let that happen, and then we're gonna come back. Now this is the interesting. Okay, this is the interesting things that I love. I love astronomy. I love outer space, but I've been noticing when people talk to me, I'm like a detective. I am. If you talk to me in a certain way, see, when I grew up in rough neighborhoods, and I was coming up during that crack era and all of that, and I learned about how to push my will on others. You could say to be a forceful individual, and so when people, I also learned how to read people. I also learned how to read weakness, lies, all types of things. So when I hear people say certain things to me, if you say it wrong, if you don't know what you're talking about, I'll jump all in that ass. And so I love astronomy. I love that type stuff. So, but I don't believe that what they say to us is true. I believe that about 90 to 95% of what astrophysicists say in their programs, like the universe and how the universe works. What's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. Uh, I believe that they're full of shit. I believe that they know that they're full of shit, and they tell you that they're full of shit every time that they come on, but they still push this stuff because of one reason. They know that you don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They know that you're not going to know one way or the other. So they know they can tell you whatever the hell they want. And you have to go for it. So let's go to this naked science stuff. Birth of the universe. Let's see how much we could get through this.
The idea that our universe was once tiny originated from the brilliant work of American astronomer Edwin Hubble.
Now, they're talking about the Big Bang Theory. Now, this is just one of the theories that they have out there. And they use this theory for one reason. Because that's the one thing that all of them no, they stay concise. They stay concise. They want to keep a united front. So they all use this one speaking point that the Big Bang is the one theory that they all are going to use as the base for how the universe was created. So, but just listen, these are supposed to be highly educated people. And when a highly educated person tells me we don't know, but, and then in the very next words, they're saying what they know, it blows my mind.
Back in the 1920s, most astronomers believed that everything visible in the night sky were stars, and they were part of our galaxy, the Milky Way.
I love this type of stuff. Daggone it. Cutting the commercial. Cut the commercial. Let's get past this. Get out of there.
Is that within these super-hit collisions, a completely new form of matter appears, and this matter contradicts the previous theories on the nature of the early universe.
Now, hold on. Wait a second. They just showed something. Ooh.
78,000 times a second.
Hold on. What am I missing? Yeah, look at all of that stuff. See, this stuff here.
In a laboratory on Long Island.
Really?
The time machine, taking us back to tens of millions of a second after the Big Bang.
This is bullshit, people. Bullshit. There's no way they can recreate the beginnings of the universe in any lab. This is bullshit. This is one of the first things that made me say bullshit. I have to call bullshit, people. There's no way that you're going to tell me that human beings are recreating anything having to do with space in any lab. And they all try to do this. They all say the same shit.
Scientists like Todd Satogata accelerate subatomic particles close to the speed of light and then smash them into each other.
And what's that supposed to mean? Because you smash some things together. What does that mean? But this is not the part that I was interested in letting you guys hear. Here it is.
and they were part of our galaxy, the Milky Way. But Hubble wasn't convinced. He studied a swirling cloud of light called the Andromeda Nebula and showed that it was a star city in another galaxy, far outside of our own galaxy.
And this type of stuff that I use to create my comic books. I love this stuff. My nebula character, there's 3,000 nebula in the Milky Way from what humans say. So yeah, I'm talking out both sides of my ass because I do use their data because it's interesting. It's interesting, but it's just good stories to tell, just like the Bible, just good stories. So I don't believe a lot of this stuff is real. Do they see things? Are they seeing galaxies and stars? Yes, I believe that. I do believe that. But the explanations, I don't see how it's possible they could get these giant leaps. Now listen to what's coming next.
He showed that these other galaxies were speeding away from ours, and the further away they were, the faster they seemed to be moving.
Now, why do you are they speeding away from us? Or are they, what if they're just moving in a faster lane than us? Keep that in mind.
The universe was expanding.
And if he said the universe is expanding, and then he says, and if the universe is expanding, so right there, he's throwing out a catch-22 or an oxymoron, something that makes no sense. You can't say if and then start explaining stuff as if you know what you're talking about, because the word if negates it right on its face. They want you to make a leap of faith. They want you to believe in it like a religion because they said it, it's real. They said, if this is so, then this has to be true. So now you have to believe that the if is true. And when you start saying, okay, we'll just give them that and say the if is true, that's when you start feeding into the lie, because they know they're feeding you bullshit. They know what they're telling you is bullshit, but they're asking you to believe in the if.
At some point in the past, it must have been smaller.
So then, if this is the case, shouldn't there be a big open hole at the center of the universe? If everything exploded from one single point, is everything still, are there stars still coming out from that single one point in the center of the universe? Because an explosion usually explodes outwards in every direction, 360 degrees in every direction, north, south, east, west, Midwest, all of that, in a three-dimensional scope, up, down, sideways, back, forth, every way. So if everything are there still stars coming out and galaxies coming out from the center of the universe, or did it just all go boom and somewhere at the center of the universe there's this big dark nothing? Yeah, everything that was already expelled is being shot outwards into the universe, and from the center point, and at that center point there's nothing, because everything is moving outwards, right? So that means that if everything is moving away from this central point, that at some point there has to be a nothing left Either that or there's a continuous that this thing exploded and it's just continuing to spray stars out like an endless fart. All for billions and billions and billions of years, right? So just like they say, it has to be one or the other. If this is all moving out from a central point, and like he says, if it's expanding, then that means that at some point it was smaller and it all expanded from this small central point. Okay. It must have had a beginning. This is human because this is the only way that we can rationalize things. We don't understand the universe, but we're going to rationalize it. We're going to make it, we're going to explain it, even though there's no human possible way for us to explain it because we wasn't there. We can't go back there. There's no way to determine the things that this people are seeing in their telescopes are what they're explaining to us. We have no clue. The idea of it, the idea, human thought. That's why it's a theory. It's an idea. He's an expert on shit he doesn't know about. How could you be an expert on some shit you don't know about? And he's going to tell you he don't know shit. So how can you possibly say one as if you knew what you was talking about, even though you don't know the other? You don't know how it began, but you knew how it evolved. How? How can you possibly know how it evolved? You're guessing. You can't tell one story without fucking up the other. That's why he knows he doesn't know, but he wants to find a way to tell you, yeah, we know. Duh. Get the fuck out of here. You see what I'm saying? We don't know, but scientists do know. That's bullshit because there's many other theories on how the universe came into being. There's the membrane theory where they think there was two membranes that were close enough to each other and that were undulating, kind of like just moving like snakes or worms, just kind of moving closer and farther apart. The whole thing like a big sheet in the wind, blowing in the wind, and you know how the pockets will undulate, will move as the wind blows. The fabric pushes out and pulls back, pushes out and pulls back. Well, they believe in this membrane theory that these two membranes came close enough together that as they both undulated, that parts of them tapped together and created a so-called Big Bang. And that they could have been tapping on many separate at many different locations, creating several Big Bangs. And then there was another theory that says that they believe that the Big Bang wasn't just one, that it possibly scattered throughout there were multiple bangs throughout the universe that created multiple bangs and multiple star systems and multiple that's cascading across each other. Then there's string theory, which is a totally other. There's a theory that says it's like that the universe is like a video game, that when you turn and look away from it, everything behind you ceases to exist. Yes. And guess when that theory came up? After video games. Come on, man. But they come up with this bullshit and they feed it to you. And then they say, scientists know. We don't know, but scientists know. That's what the man said. He knows that seconds after the universe was created, that this was. Now, please tell me how this is possible that they know this. He said they know this. I don't care what you say. They say that there's some kind of radio waves that they hear the background noise from the beginnings of the Big Bang, from when the Big Bang happened. How do you know that that's noise from the Big Bang? They say that the sun emanates so much noise from its corona that it's way more than deafening. That the sound of the churning, and they don't know that either. Nobody's been to the sun. But if these things are true, how can they say that they hear sound from the beginnings of the universe when the sun is right here making all that fucking noise? You see what I'm saying? Now, y'all can look this up yourselves. Y'all can't expect me to do all of it. Look it up, man. Look up the sound, the noise that the corona makes. See? He didn't say we start our facts. We start our knowledge. He says we start our story. And a story is a fictitious lullaby. Some bullshit you tell people. It's a story. And these people know that they're just working by the seat of the pants. And then when they come up with something new, it's just more dribble. And we're giving them money on top of money for stuff they have no clue. And they just keep feeding us bullshit because they know the scientists that govern the scientific community are scientists. They're not going to destroy their own pockets. They're not going to blow a hole in their own system of making money. These dudes get millions of dollars for when somebody awards them a doctorate or some crap. They get millions of dollars. If they get awarded something for their scientific endeavors, they get awarded millions of dollars to go and research. So they have to come up with something to tell people, right? And that's why they come up with all of this bullshit. I bet you if money wasn't involved, they wouldn't be talking about all of this garbage they know, because they know that it's bullshit. And you can hear them telling you that it's bullshit, but people want to believe it so badly. Marble size. Why would it be so small? Why? There's a Big Bang. Why would it start? If there's a Big Bang and then the universe starts, right? This boom, and then a split microsecond later, the universe is created and it's a size of a marble. Why? If there's infinite nothing, why does it start at the size of a marble and not the size of a planet or the size of a universe? I mean, size of a galaxy, size of a huge star. Why the size of a marble? And how do they know this? Don't take people's, it's exciting to hear. It's a great story to listen to, but why do we not ask why with so many things when that's all? I'm not an intelligent person. I'm not no scholar. Like I said, I come from street life. But I ask why? Why? Where does that come from? How do y'all pull that shit out your ass? And that's what it is. People pull shit out their ass all the time. And that's what we're doing with Mike. We're pulling stories out of our ass and we're going to get this. We're going to get the stories because, yo, I use this stuff. I use this stuff all the time. This outer space stuff, man, it's spectacular for creating characters. But yo, this is stuff when Mike is stuff that people are going to be happy to get into because it's going to be an adventure story. Even though I love this stuff too. I love getting into this and listening to it. I just don't like being lied to. And I can hear when somebody's lying to me. And this dude is lying. Speed of light. How do they know about the speed of light? You can only judge the speed of light from what you calculate on Earth. You have no clue about what's going on out in space. Wrong or right? Right or wrong? Ask yourself. You got the comments there. Ask yourself, are people are people learning things and doing things? Huh? Do people learn and gather information in the same? Okay, if light moves at a certain speed, right? But they say that black holes, even light can't escape it. So that means that there are things in the universe that affect light, right? So they say that light moves at a certain speed. How can you calculate that out in space when we don't know what has an effect on light? They come up with terms like dark matter, which holds the universe together. And then there's dark energy, which pushes the expansion of the universe. And together, they regulate the expansion or whatever, the makeup of the universe. So if these two things are so powerful, and if we take what they say true, black holes have an effect on light, then how could they then say that light travels at a certain rate of speed through the known or unknown universe? How could you say that when you have no clue what has an effect on light? How could you say that? Only thing you can speak on is what you calculated on the surface of the planet Earth. True or not? I'm just asking. What makes sense to you, because to me, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me that mankind has no clue about what goes on off the surface of the planet. But what they do, just like what he's doing here, he's showing you something that he could to make you, help you to visualize. But no, that's not what he's doing. He's showing you something to make you believe in what he's saying, not help you visualize. It is to help you visualize, but it is to help brainwash you into believing what he's saying. Why? Why? This is an easy way for you to understand what he's trying to say. But this is bullshit. It doesn't mean what he's saying is true. It just means this is what his story, that this is the truth of the story that he's telling you. And there's a difference to reality and the truth and the truth of the story in which he is trying to express to you. That's two separate things. Belief, people, and that's what all of these systems of control. This is where I got started with the matrix system, because I did not believe. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and I was hearing all of these astronomers come on there, these astrophysicists, and they would say the same thing. But I heard it before then. I heard it before when I was watching. I own 4 seasons of the universe. I was recording the seasons of how the universe works, and they all say the same thing. We know, but then we don't. We don't know how this works, but we know. And that's what I'm saying. This is all garbage. A trillion trillionth of a second. Where did they get this from? When they was nowhere around. There was nowhere there, but they're speaking as if they're an authority. See, one thing that they tell you, but they don't tell you again. Talk out of both sides of their mouth. That usually most of the stuff, the rationale behind what they're saying is all calculated through math. But how could you use calculations of math when you don't have the numbers? You don't have the numbers from what happened how many ever billions of years ago. So how could you then calculate what happened? You're making things up. Either that or you're using numbers from things that you can calculate. Like they believe in time. They say space-time all the time, and they use this term, space-time, and the numbers that they calculate from using this term, space-time, to calculate all of the things that they're telling you. But how can you talk about time when the time that you're talking about only exists on Earth? Time doesn't exist the same way on Mercury or on Mars that it does on Earth. It takes longer for the planet, or shorter for the planet to orbit the sun, and those other planets rotate on their axes, on their axes at different rates. So they spin like a top at faster and slower rates. So if that's the case, that means that a day is shorter or longer than on Earth. So that means you can't use the 24-hour system. You can't use the second system, the 60 seconds in a minute, the 60 minutes in an hour, the 24 hours in a day, the 365 days in a year. All of that goes out the window as soon as you leave the surface of the planet. As soon as you leave the surface of the planet, all of that goes out the window. And that's what I'm saying. People want to believe, and they know you don't know. So, hey, all of the things I'm telling you, I get from them. All of the things I'm talking about, I get from them. Watching nature shows, watching science shows, I get from them. I'm using them against them. Everything that they say. And I talked to an astrophysicist. When I first got on the internet back in the early 2000s, I got my first laptop computer, and I went on and I was looking, had these same questions. This is the early 2000s. I asked these same questions. It might have been the late 1900s. 1990s. But I asked these questions of myself, and then they had this thing, ask an astronomer. And I went on and I asked an astronomer. I went on this website and I asked an astronomer, and I left my phone number. And the dude, somebody called me back. He said he was an astronomer, and he called me back. So I asked him some questions, and he couldn't answer my questions. The same types of questions I'm asking you now. He said, "I don't know. We don't know. The truth is, we don't know." I don't remember the dude's name. I don't remember where he came from, what college or whatever, because most of these guys work out of some kind of university. I don't know whether it was Columbia or what, but I know the dude called me and he said, that's why I said I will question any astronomer, but I don't think that they would do it, not on live air, because it would jeopardize their careers. I don't believe any astronomer would take me up on letting me, like how Neil deGrasse Tyson went on Joe Rogan. None of them fools would come on my show because I would be asking them the hard questions, and they won't be able to answer it. They won't, because I will ask them about light. I will ask them about the Big Bang. I'll ask them about all of these things that they see. The thing that started making me question what they were saying was that they would say things in one show, and then in the very next show, like they would talk about neutrinos being this invisible particle flying through space, going through the planet, passing through the planet, passing through humans, passing through everything. But they were making up some way of catching a neutrino. But they talking about all of these particles coming from the sun all of the time, and particles flying through space all of the time. How do they know, even if they would happen to capture something that they could call a neutrino, how do they know that it's a neutrino and not some other foreign particle that that passes through everything? Why is so? What is everything in that category labeled a neutrino? Or is the neutrino just one particular particle? So all of these questions started passing through my brain. And then they would say things just like the noise of the sun, the corona of the sun. And then they saying about this background noise of the that back in the 60s or 40s or 50s or whatever it was, they were listening to outer space, and they kept getting this background noise, and they attributed this background noise to being the Big Bang, the residual sound of the universe from the Big Bang all those billions and billions of years ago. So then when I hear them talking about the corona of the sun and how much noise that the sun actually makes, how deafening it is, I'm saying, hold on. What about that whole Big Bang background noise theory? Y'all ain't talking about that. And there's no show that they come out with that talks about those two things, separating them and answering that. Why do they say the Big Bang their rationale for the Big Bang theory comes from this background noise thing? Let me see if I could find that. Big Bang background noise. Okay, let me see. Big Bang sound. There it is. The cosmic background radiation, ambient noise. This is what they claimed it looked like. This is what it claimed to look like. But how do we know that that's not the sun that they are listening to? How do we know this? Here's one right here talking about the sun. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it says it right here. Space sounds, 12 hours, our sun solar OM noise. How do we know that that's not the same thing? You're going to tell me that they could tell the difference between the noise coming from the sun and the noise coming from beyond the sun? They can separate those things? How? How do we know that when we're not sending say we sent probes, right, out past the edge of our solar system. Is that sending those probes sending back noises, new noises that we've heard? And if it does, how can we be sure that whatever that machine heard is actually not some distortion because of whatever affects space and all of those particles and radiation has done to the machine that we sent out there? Like I said, man, there's so many questions, but nobody asks these questions. We just believe what these people say because we assume that they know what they're talking about. Well, I put forth that they don't know what they're talking about. They just know that we don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They absolutely know this for a fact, that they positively, absolutely know that we don't know what the fuck they're talking about, that we have to take their word for it. So this is what I'm saying, people. Don't trust what people tell you. Do not just sit back and trust what science and what religion and what the matrix tells you. It's all hype. Everything is man-made. So it's man-built. Just like the Matrix, built by machines, built by man, so is our society. Everything we believe in is based on what a man built, what men believe, and we do not trust these things because as long as we go by money, we can't trust anything that man does because there's always a motivation to lie and mislead you. And until we get off of this, until we disconnect from the matrix, until we finally become Neo and become one part of the one, that 1% of possible people who are the one, that 1%, because that's what the one is, the 1% who are possible saviors of the universe. I'm not Neo. I'm not the one to save you. I'm fucking Morpheus. I'm bringing the knowledge to you. I'm helping. I'm trying to bring y'all. I'm trying to save y'all from the matrix. Just some guy did a video years ago, year or two ago, saying that most people think that they're Morpheus or Neo, but the truth is they're Cypher. No, I'm bringing you the truth. I'm Morpheus, motherfucker. I'm out. Thanks for coming and spending time with me here in the Matrix Doctrine. And please subscribe. We're trying to grow this channel because we're trying to sell comic books. Mike, the graphic novel is what I'm working on. And I'm trying to bring y'all an epic adventure